This Worldwide Express 250 edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks and content available only to our patrons at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Here to conclude the last offering of NASCAR Series runnings of the week. It is, of course, the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Today, we talk trucks. It's the Worldwide Express 250. The truck sharing the track with the Cup Series in Richmond, while the Xfinity boys are at play on a road course somewhere in Middle America. Wisconsin's Middle America, right? I know Omaha is, but
it's close enough.
Somewhere in there. But yeah, Cody, it is again, like I said, the truck race. We're back again with it. I was not impressed once more with the offering of the trucks. Can we please get more to bet on?
Yeah, the trucks were definitely tougher. And man, we've had some really good weeks here lately too, where they're so limited on offerings, but we've had some good prices. But as we'll talk about in a minute, this is the last race of the regular season. So no more Cup guys allowed for the rest of the season. And so that really depresses some. When Corey Heim, Brad, checks in at minus 500 for a top five.
Mm-hmm. I know.
It's starting to get pretty hard to look around and find some stuff you really like. As the resident Corey Heim fan, I love that. But it makes it difficult to place some of these bets because you don't have the wide openness that the Truck Series or Cup Series guys bring in. And so odds are definitely based on this being a regular truck race. And that makes it a little tougher. The limited options, again, we have like one group. We only have top five, top threes. The head-to-heads, there are some interesting head-to-heads. I really love the first one I've got. That's going to be a fun one to talk about. But, yeah, it's, again, not the best options ever, but did find some good stuff that we like. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I like I said, I didn't like the options, but I still found some good ones that I like. So, but like you said, Cody, this is the last race of the regular season. What are the playoffs looking like?
Yeah, so I had it right in front of me, and of course I lost it, but I will find it here. Okay, so this is the final race, right? So after this, the Truck Series playoffs begin at the next race. And they only get 10 guys that make it into the playoffs, I think is the correct number here. But here's all the main things you need to know. Matt DiBenedetto can clinch his playoff spot with 34 points. That means if he finishes third or better with no stage points, he's automatically in, but 34 is his target number. Nick Sanchez, his number is 43, so that's the number he'll be shooting for. Corey Heim can clinch the regular season title by scoring only 19 points. Keep in mind, Heim missed a race due to illness. Obviously, he's got the playoff waiver, but can clinch the regular season title, which comes along with bonus points as well going into the playoffs. So he needs 19 points. So if he gets no stage points, an 18th place finish would do it. If he were to win stage one and win stage two, he would automatically be the regular season champion. So that's pretty much the main stuff. As far as the cutoff line goes, the two guys we're going to be watching, Matt Crafton, +9 currently. Stuart Friesen, -9 currently. Those are really the two bubble guys, the two most veterans that we have in this series, right? These are the two guys Craftsman has been around forever, literally. He's a 3-time champion of the sport. Friesen's been around for a long time. It is 10 guys that make it, did confirm that. So, De Benedetto plus 31 to the cut line right now. Obviously, he can just lock himself in on points. And then it's Crafton at plus 9. Stuart Friesen, the first guy out of minus 9. I would say fairly unlikely that we get a different winner outside of the guys that are already in the playoffs. Tanner Gray, unlikely. Chase Purdy's a KBM truck. Garcia's it's the same truck as the 19, the McAnally trucks. Gray, he's had his flashes, but even as a Gray lover, it's unlikely. So really the battle to watch is going to be Matt Crafton, Stuart Friesen. 9 points separate them. That means that stage points are going to be absolutely vital for these guys. And then finishing position, of course, will matter a lot. So those are really the battles to watch as we head towards the playoffs after this week, which will be those will start at IRP, the short track outside of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that will be August 11th. So we'll have a week off before we get into that.
And there's only 250 laps to settle this score this week. Of course, we are at Richmond. It is the 3/4 of a mile track. This 250 represents the number of laps in the Worldwide Express 250. So only 250 laps on this. And this is definitely a race that's going to go by quick.
Real quick. It's going to be, that's a very short amount of laps on this short of a track. They're going to be clicking off quick. Those stages are going to be super fast. Those points are going to come in quickly. And we're going to have a playoff field and a regular season champion decided very, very soon.
I mean, last year's race was only 2 hours long, 1 hour and 56 minutes and 56 seconds. So that tells you anything. This is going to go by very, very quickly. Only 3 cautions too that day.
Yeah, the one other thing about this too. So Xfinity Series races at 2:00 on Saturday. The Truck Series is Saturday night, 6:30. This is all Central Time, but 6:30 Central Time. So it's going to be under the lights. And they're going to be kind of the second series on the weekend, right? Xfinity goes off early, then it's into the trucks, and then obviously that would lead into the Cup on Sunday. But under the lights, all the cameras, all the action going to be on them as they determine the playoffs. I'm excited.
All the sparks flying from those trucks. That will be a good time, and it's a good time to get into some bets. But first, let me tell you about our Patreon. Do your part in the war against corporate gambling. Sign up for the SGP Patreon. Tons of exclusive content in there, contests and merch just exclusively for you, our patrons, plus a monthly SGP Stories podcast, an ad-free, uncensored show highlighting the best stories from decades of being DGens. There's even a Discord channel exclusively for patrons. Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon is a great way to score exclusive perks and support the SGPN. You want to find out how to get in on that? Go to the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. All right, Cody. Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and load up some bets because I feel like people now, as we get to the end of the week, are ready for some Truck Series bets because I know we are.
I like it. I think we're ready to jump in as well. I'm going to start off, Rod. Don't hit the stop button after I say these two names. All right, let me make my case. The first matchup I'm going to take over on Caesars, Bailey Curry versus Matt Mills. Give me the Bailey Curry. Exactly. Give me the. But you know what's funny? I pulled this up and I go, wow, they're giving us a shitbox special this week. And then I looked at the entry list. This is a Nice truck and a KBM truck, Rod. That's what's crazy about this matchup is, to me, I'm thinking, oh boy, we're going down the board this week. But no, they're in two actually pretty decent trucks. So I thought this was a great matchup to highlight first in what makes the Truck Series fun, especially when you get to this time of year where now the Cup guys aren't allowed to come in. So Kyle Busch, he won last week. That was his final attempt. Can't come back the rest of the season. They can't have full-time Cup guys. I don't think full-time Xfinity guys are allowed either because it's now time for the playoffs for the Truck Series. They don't want to disturb that with the Cup guys being in there. So so you get matchups like Bailey Curry and Matt Mills. But I do like Bailey Curry. So Curry's got a couple of starts this season in that Nice 41 truck. The same truck that Ross Chastain has raced in. Hasn't been super great when Ross has run it, but it's been okay. Curry's been okay in it as well. He actually finished 5th at Nashville a couple of weeks ago, 15th at Gateway, 13th at Charlotte. He was 4th in Atlanta, super speedway, but again, that's four starts, 4 pretty good finishes there. So Matt Mills, though, you go over and look at him. He's a pretty regular in the Xfinity Series, but since 2018, he's only got 10 Truck Series starts. 15th is his best finish. I know this is a KBM truck, but I'm kind of viewing this as when Joe Graff gets in the JGR cars in the Xfinity Series. Sure, maybe the truck's good, but what's this guy going to do with it? He doesn't have a ton of starts. He's not really had a bunch of good finishes. Granted, he's not been in great trucks when he's had those starts either. So there, maybe putting him in a good truck will magically be crazy what you could see. But I just think that Curry has shown enough consistency. He's already comfortable in this Nice truck. He's been in it multiple times already this season, and he's proven all 4 times he can get nice solid finishes. Even a 5th place at Nashville, extremely impressive to have a good run like that. So give me Bailey Curry over Matt Mills, -115. And if you had me talking about Bailey Curry and Matt Mills on a NASCAR gambling podcast this year, first of all, you're wrong, but I want to see your bingo card anyways.
And that's the glory of it. I love it. I wish they would do more for us like that. I want more of those down the card ones. And the books want you to take the 51 truck because you see the 51 and you go, ooh, Kyle Busch just won in that truck. Everybody, or whatever. This Kyle Busch is good in that truck. So let's take that. So do not fall into that trap. I love it. I love it, Cody. I love that you're giving us someone else to cheer for on this Richmond.
And like just one more quick point on the KBM trucks too. They're not the KBM trucks of the past couple of years with Toyota, where John Nemechek's out there dominating all the time. Corey Heim's jumping in trucks and winning on a part-time schedule, and there's all this Toyota money. Like Chevrolet hasn't put that much in there. They've been pretty decent when Kyle has been in the truck, right? He won only 2 of the 5 races though, and he's obviously had the good runs. But we've seen Jack Wood in this 51 a lot. He ain't done shit. Some other guys in this 51 haven't really done a ton. So it's definitely a different story at Chevrolet than it was at Toyota. So I think that's just another point in the against Matt Mills for you this week.
I'll kind of tack on to that one. My first matchup, I guess, is Toyota over Chevy at -105 over on Caesars. It's the highest finishing Toyota, better than the highest finishing Chevy at -105. And I know, look, on short tracks this season, on Bristol dirt, Chevy actually got the better of got the better of Toyota in that one. Jesus, I'm looking at the word Ford, and I'm trying to say in my mind Chevy. So Chevy got the better of Toyota in Bristol on the dirt, but that's Bristol dirt. I don't know you can necessarily lump that in. But Toyota did get the best of them on Martinsville. That is a half-mile track, so I think that's good too. Chevy won, but that was Kyle Larson in North Wilkesboro, and kind of can't necessarily count that one for that. And listen, in that race too, Matt DiBenedetto finished in 3rd. I don't know that he's going to finish in 3rd place on this race. He doesn't have a good track record here. Carson Hocevar is finished there too as well. But Bubba Wallace, Corey Heim, all those Toyotas. I think Toyota is going to have a better finisher. They've done it in the last 2 races here at Richmond. It was Chandler Smith who finished 1st here last year. John Hunter Nemechek right behind him, and Ty Majeski right behind him. Toyota 1, 2, 3 last year in this race. And then in 2021, John Hunter Nemechek, Kyle Busch 1, 2. Tyler Ankrum was 3rd in a Chevy, but I don't know. We kind of, I got burnt by Tyler Ankrum already. I'm not going to try to suggest that he's going to finish well this year in this race. But the next 2 were Chandler Smith and Johnny Sauter, both in Toyotas. So Toyota's done pretty well over the last couple of years on this track. Again, I know that Chevys always run well and always are a threat, but I love that the Toyota side of this is not really as juiced as it could be. So I'll take Toyota over Chevy -105.
What kind of truck does Corey Heim drive?
A Toyota.
Oh, okay. Yep. Then I definitely back you on this one.
Beautiful.
Next up for me, I am going to go into the Chevy camp and take Carson Hocevar to finish in the top 5 +140. The last 2 races have been a little bit rough for Hocevar. Got spun out early at Mid-Ohio, got some damage. I think he went multiple laps down, but fought back to finish in 12th. Last week, had some issues at Pocono. We'll just put it that way. But recovered and still finished 11th. So 2 horrible races for him. He gets spun out. He has all these problems, comes back, finishes 12th and 11th. That was a road course. That was a triangle. Now we're back to the ovals. He has been good on. So before those 2 races, 4 straight oval races, 4 top 10s, including his win at Nashville. North Wilkesboro was part of that, another short flat track as well. Gateway was part of that, another short flat track. Things have been going very, very good for Carson Hocevar lately. The last 2 weeks, not so much. The guys over at Door Bumper Clear, one of them dropped a little line that I thought was very interesting, and I think I have a hard time keeping track of which guy is which on that show, but I think it was the guy that has the colleague ties, and he mentioned that maybe Hocevar was going to be in a cup ride next year, and I thought that was very interesting. Obviously, both colleague cup cars are open. Maybe he knows something. We've heard rumors about JRM, right? And maybe he'll go to the 8 car, or the 1 or the 9 might even be open next year too. We don't know for sure on their lineup, but he wants to impress. He's already locked into the playoffs, obviously, but let's head into the playoffs with some momentum here. A top 5 for him at plus money at plus 140, I think is a really good bet. So give me Carson Hocevar. And again, there's no Cup Series guys in this race. So when you're taking these bets, Kyle Busch isn't taking one of those spots. Christopher Bell's not taking one of those spots. All these other guys we've seen in the Truck Series, they're not taking these spots. You've got Bailey Curry and Matt Mills filling in these cars that are these trucks that Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain have been racing, right? So that makes a big difference when those top spots aren't just automatically taken by a guy like Kyle Busch or Christopher Bell last week or anything like that.
And even John Hunter Nemechek, like I said before, not in this race this year. So a lot of those spots are taken out as well. So yeah, like you said, chances for some of these guys who were just sitting on the periphery to catch back up and put in a good solid finish on this track. Speaking of good solid finishes, you play Underdog Fantasy, you're going to get used to good solid finishes every single week. We're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. NFL season's right around the corner. Underdog Pick'em is a great way to get down on a ton of NFL player props and is available in tons of markets, plus plenty of opportunities to win in their daily MLB contest. And of course, make sure to enter the Best Ball Mania 4, where first place gets you $1 million. Head over to underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. All right. Well, it is my turn to go on my bet, and I'm going to pick Christian Eckes over Nick Sanchez in the war of people who I love to bet on either one of them. I love Christian Eckes. I always have. This season, I put more bets on him than I probably have in the past. But yeah, Christian Eckes over Nick Sanchez. Nick Sanchez has not taken a start here on this track, so can't really pull from any sort of past track history for him. But I will say that for Nick Sanchez so far on short tracks this season, Bristol Dirt, kind of a bad day for him. 18th place on the Bristol Dirt. But again, I will use stats how I see fit. I threw it out earlier, but I'm including it in this one. Don't really care. 18th place short track race. 11th place in Martinsville. Not bad. 30th place, though, at North Wilkesboro. The one thing about Nick Sanchez that has you probably wanting the other side of this, and let's just face it, they're both at minus 115. So even the books are kind of throwing their hands up at this one, saying we don't know which side to lean. But again, I will take the Eckes side of it because he's got more experience. But for Sanchez, right, a 9th place at Charlotte, 8th place at Gateway, 3rd at Nashville, 9th at Mid-Ohio. He did finish 19th in Pocono, leading 7 laps in that race. He started on the pole in 2 of the last 3 races. So Sanchez is on a pretty decent tear, but again, this is a short track, and I just outlined that his short track history is not the greatest. Plus, still a rookie in this series. Lots and lots of laps to eat him up. Well, I say lots and lots, 250, but for a truck race, that's still a pretty decent amount of laps.
A lot on a short track too. That's a lot of quick circuits.
Yep. Yeah. And a lot of lap traffic to deal with. So maybe that's why he's not really good at short tracks. But for Christian Eckes, all told, Christian Eckes, like I said, got a lot more experience as far as short tracks are concerned. This season, though, for him at Bristol Dirt was a tough one. He crashed out, finished 30th, but came back for a 15th place finish at Martinsville. North Wilkesboro, tough one, 25th place in that one. But again, he finished better than Nick Sanchez in that span as well. So definitely can take that away from him. I know that I have got I had Christian Eckes, and I closed the tab. So got to pull him up one more time in his track history here as far as Richmond is concerned. Stay with me for
I do think, too, just while you're looking that up, a point that goes against Sanchez, he's only 21 points to the good on this playoff cutoff line. So they are probably going to come into this very, very conservative. Don't push too hard. Let's run around here. Let's get a decent finish. Let's make sure we're staying ahead of these other guys. Don't go out there and be aggressive. Don't try and win this race, because if he does and he's too aggressive, he ends up wadded up in a corner, and boom, Friesen and Crafton pass him. He's out of the playoffs. So I think that's actually a big bonus in the Eckes thing. Eckes has got multiple wins this season. He can run his own regular race. He's going to be up there battling for it. In my opinion, I would guess Sanchez and his team come into this very, very conservative, because you don't want to be the guy that wrecks going for the lead when all you had to do was finish 15th to get into the playoffs, and you miss out because you made boneheaded mistakes on a track that you don't have experience on, and it's not really your style where you're great at.
That's true. And like you said, Christian Eckes 2 wins this season, so he can do what he wants. On this track, though, he does have 2 starts and an 18th place finish and a 18th and 8th place finish. He started 3rd, started 9th. Words will come easier, I'm sure, as the day progresses. But yes, better. I think he's just going to do better. I think he's going to run better. I think he's got a top 10 finish in him, whereas Nick Sanchez, like you said, will probably play it safe and just try to keep his nose clean and ride his way into the playoffs.
Yeah, so I like the Eckes side of that with you as well. I'm going to take Ben Rhodes for a top 5, plus 250. Not a guy we talk about a ton. He feels like the Joey Logano of the Truck Series, right? And surprisingly, I'm on Joey Logano this week, so I guess I'm just turning a leaf to these guys that are hard to predict. But Rhodes is tough, much like Joey. He's either in it or he's just out of it, and he'll pop up and win like he did at Charlotte the week after we talked shit about how he was having a horrible season, right? But you look at it, and he had been having a horrible season, but he wins that race and goes on to have 5 top 10 finishes in a row, which he's currently still on that streak. It's been that win and 5 top 10 finishes in a row. He was 7th at Gateway, again, somewhat comparable of a track, 6th at Martinsville, a short flat. Last season, 2nd place at Phoenix, the most comparable track to this one probably. 5th place at Martinsville. He was 18th in this race last year, but he got caught up in some stuff. 7th in 2021, 3rd in 2020. So he's definitely got the ability to put himself up there. And this is the type of year, or the time of year, where it's time for Rhodes to click it on, right? He's a former series champion. He knows how to get it done this time of year. Time to start getting those good, solid finishes. And you don't have the Cup Series guys. How many Cup guys were in those last 5 races where he's got top 10s in a row? So if he's already finished in the top 10 and he's sliding up inside that top 5 without guys like Kyle Busch finishing ahead of him, guys like Christopher Bell finishing ahead of him, guys like Ross Chastain finishing ahead of him, he doesn't have all that in his way. I think at plus 250 over on Caesars, Rhodes for a top 5 is a good deal this week.
I agree with you, and I like that bet so much that I picked it, but got in. Notice you did it. So I'm going to go on Rhodes a different way and take him over Taylor Gray. I know it breaks the hearts of everybody in there, but if Ben Rhodes is going to finish inside the top 5, I do not see a top 5 finish in the cards for Taylor. I know emotions were riding high after his 3rd place finish in Pocono, but that was his only top 5 of the season. And in fact, he's only got 4 top 10s, and the closest he's come to the top 5 is that, for other than the 3rd place last week, was an 8th place finish at Martinsville. So a good solid run at a short track. However, not a top 5 run. And if we think Crafton's going to get in the top 5, Taylor's got to do that as well. And look, in 8 short track races so far in Taylor's career, he's only got 3 top 10 finishes. So not a good look for that this season. We did highlight his Martinsville finish. That was great. That was an 8th place finish there. Bristol dirt crashed out. Of course, that was his first short track race, basically in Bristol in the dirt. So really count that one. North Wilkesboro, he finished 21st. So a tough one for him there. Again, just not necessarily a short track racer yet. He'll get there. He'll absolutely get there, and he'll dominate at some point. But right now, you got to give the nod to the veteran. You got to give the nod to Ben Rhodes. And listen, you're getting this at plus money. This is plus 110 over on Caesars. You're getting the wily veteran who's on a tear right now, a decent tear right now over Taylor, who's been sort of up and down, and yes, has had an up week, but I don't know that he should be favored in this matchup. So give me Ben Rhodes over Taylor Gray at plus 110.
Yeah, a big Taylor Gray fan. Ridiculous that he's favored in this matchup, especially on this track type where Rhodes is so good. And with the momentum Rhodes has been riding, again, very quiet start to the season. Things were kind of rough. He popped up out of nowhere, got that win. Been very consistent ever since. They're obviously figuring some stuff out. I'm going to go back to the top 5. Well, I know this is my third top 5 in a row. I don't love to do that, but at the odds of this guy and of Rhodes, of course, at plus 250, I feel like as long as you hit one of those, you're going to be pretty happy with how things turn out. And like you said, the selection just wasn't great out there anyways, Rod. So I'm going to go with the Matt DiBenedetto top 5 plus 550. Just talked about him, right? He currently only 31 points to the good for the playoffs. So he doesn't have to have the best day ever, but again, a third place finish rather is what I'm trying to go with. If he doesn't score any stage points, we'll lock him into that. And Matt DiBenedetto, another guy, much like Ben Rhodes, kind of riding a hot streak of momentum, just building things up. Matt DiBenedetto, as much as I like to hate on him, he's a guy who was full-time in the Cup Series a couple of years ago. For many years, he drove with the Wood Brothers. He drove with some other teams, like a guy that had been around and had his chances and had his flashes, and he's a veteran race car driver. He went to this Rackley War team, and they were kind of ish last year. He got that win at Talladega, of course, but things just were kind of, it kind of depended. But they've definitely built up, and they've got something going over there. And with Matt's leadership, I think, and his veteran prowess, I think it's helped them out a lot. I think he brings some money to the team with the sponsors and whatnot. And so he's riding 6 top 10 finishes in a row. Go back and look at comparable tracks, Rod. 7th place at Martinsville, 3rd place at North Wilkesboro, a race where Kyle Larson dominated and won that race. So he still finished in 3rd. 6th place at Gateway. He's getting close to the top 5s and in the top 5 in the Wilkesboro case at plus 550 for a guy who's good on this type of track. If you remember the Cup Series race he almost won where Denny Hamlin got him at the end was at Bristol. This isn't exactly comparable to Bristol, but it is still a short track. Obviously, he's got a thing for the short tracks. I think that there is an advantage for teams that are a little bit smaller on shorter tracks where they don't have to have all the speed and horsepower of the big tracks, the big intermediate tracks, where it's more of a technical thing. It's more on the driver. It's more take care of your heavy tire wear track, right? Take care of your tires. DiBenedetto knows how to do all of that. There were points earlier this season where he looked fast, he looked good, and then he kept making mistakes and doing dumb things. He couldn't stay out of his own way, but 6 top 10 finishes in a row. He's definitely gotten that out of his system. Things are calmed down. Again, you're going into this playoff run. A veteran type of driver looking at that. He's looking to secure that spot. He should run around and stay clean all day. I think he's going to have himself in position for a chance at a top 5 at the end of this. And at plus 550, I feel like the odds are pretty good on that.
If there's ever a solid case to be made for Matt DiBenedetto, I believe you just made it. Definitely not somebody that, like you said, we go out on a limb for quite often, but when you build a case for him, he does.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like, there's guys that, and we all have them, right? Guys we love to bet on. And Corey Heim's that guy for me. Like I'll find a way to bet on him every week. Don't worry, his bet's coming up. Don't worry, I got it, right? But like there's some guys you have to go out of your way to talk yourself into it. And if the statistics are there and you talk yourself into taking them, then it's like when I bet on number 11 in Xfinity. Like I won't even say the guy's name, but if I got a bet on him, there's probably a pretty good reason why. And I think that that's the case with DiBenedetto. There's a lot of value at such a big number, plus 550 for as good as he's been on this style of track. It shouldn't be this big of a number.
I concur. All right. Well, I am going to go with my winning truck number. Pardon me. I got phlegm going on. I don't know what it is. Summertime, whatever. So if you hear me clear my throat or mute the mic real quick, it's because I don't want you to hear the just ridiculous noise of me clearing my throat. So, all right, I'm going to go winning truck number under 23.5. This number encompasses both mine and Cody's, just spoiler alert, winner. But it also throws in guys like Nick Sanchez, just in case he happens to pop a win out of the ether. It gives you Christian Eckes if Eckes decides he wants to end up winning a race, because we talked about how good he's been on this track. So it gives you some pretty decent coverage. It gives you 3 people basically, that I think can win this race. And the stat or the number for that is, why did I not pull the?
Well, let me ask you, what number does Corey Heim drive, Rod?
That's what I'm saying, Cody. It's you asked me this before, and I said it's the number 11 for sure.
Okay, then I'm on board with this bet. I mean,
You definitely
come
are.
on.
So no, for this one, and forgive me, folks, I just spent 3 hours in the car too. It's not fun to be in the car. The winning car number under 23.5 is at -130. So it is the juiced up side of it, but the plus 100 just doesn't seem like it likely if we've got two trucks so far that we're going to suggest both under this number. So
Yeah, and like you look at the board, and we haven't talked about the odds, but Corey Heim, some books he's plus 250. Like he's the top guy on there. You got Grant Enfinger up there, obviously Sanchez. So there's plenty of guys that give you a really good chance to hit this. And again, Corey Heim is on that list, so I like it.
I've got like a few different ways to cover just in case something happens. Like I got the Toyota over Chevy, right? And the Toyota over Chevy bet actually gives you the one car of William Sawalich. Yeah, buddy, let's go.
Yeah, and he's a great young driver to watch too.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's driving that old Haley Deegan machine. It gives you it gives you Dean Thompson. Let's go, Corey Heim.
Man, Thompson, another one. He's not good at finishing races. He's real bad at finishing races, but he's been running really good. So if he can put it together,
I'm just saying, like I said, I've got a lot of different scenarios covered. So I feel like this is a weird attack at this race, but we'll take it for sure.
I like it. I like it.
Me too. Winners coming up. Hang tight.
Hey, everybody. If you play fantasy football, especially in auction leagues,
or you're a whiskey fan.
Yes, exactly. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast Fantasy Football Channel show, Old Fashioned Football.
Coming to you every Tuesday morning, give us a listen. We'll bring you the latest fantasy football data, including
The injury report,
studs and duds,
waiver wire targets,
and suggested fab.
market movers. After all, we are the Marks.
He is my hubby.
And she's J Mark's wifey.
And we're bringing all this to you while drinking an old fashioned and giving you our honest review of a different whiskey every week.
All that and more. Hop on over, give us a listen, come for the football, stay for the whiskey.
This ad's almost done.
Going once, going twice.
Sold.
Well, somebody needs to win this race, but somebody will win this race to try to either lock themselves in the playoffs or improve their playoff position. So, Cody, who is it going to be?
You know, Rod, at points I get tired of picking the same people over and over. And then I remember how many times they've cashed tickets for me.
Exactly.
And I'm not so tired of it anymore. Corey Heim, he's 3-1. It's, again, we talk about when numbers get this low, it gets kind of shifty. But Corey Heim has been the best truck out there every single week. And even Zane Smith has had his flashes and he looks fast. And he just cannot finish races and things go wrong. Corey Heim almost beat Kyle Busch again last week. He beat him earlier this season at Martinsville. There was a little rain involved, yes, but he still won the race. He's got top six finishes in a row. Still, his finish at Atlanta is his worst finish of the season, a super speedway. So we're going to throw that out. Hasn't finished worse than 15th in the rest of the races. I mentioned before he missed that race at Gateway with an illness. He can still clinch the regular season championship this Saturday night by finishing like 18th. It's ridiculous how good of a season he's had. He's put together a great season. He won the Martinsville race, like I mentioned. He started first at North Wilkesboro, led 75 laps. Again, a race that Kyle Larson was in. Things didn't go great for him at the end there. He got caught up in some stuff. Ended up finishing 6th, but missed the Gateway, another comparable race. But he was 5th here in the race last year. Again, that was his rookie campaign. He only started, I think, half the races or so where he won Rookie of the Year anyway, winning multiple races. He is good. His odds, like I mentioned before, he's minus 240 for a top 3, minus 500 for a top 5, Rod. That's Max Verstappen numbers almost. The books know he is going to be in the top 5. They know he's going to be in the top 3. They won't even let us bet him at these numbers, basically, because they know he's going to be up there. If you promise me a guy is going to be in the top 3, basically, right? It's nothing's guaranteed. But if you're saying there's a way better chance, it's you can't even bet him to be there because it's so sure that he's going to be there, and you're still giving him to me at 3-1 to win the race. Give me Corey Heim, just in case Heim doesn't get it done. Always got to have the insurance bets, right? I already made a case for both these guys to finish in the top 5. If I think they can finish in the top 5, that means I think they can have themselves in position to win if something happens to Heim late or anything like that. Carson Hocevar, 10-1 over on Caesars. I like him. Obviously, I talked about it. He's been on a good run. And Ben Rhodes, 20-1. Also talked about him, right? He's got the 6 top 10s in a row. Third place at, or no, that was not him. He finished third here before. He finished third here in 2020, 7th here in 21, 2nd at Phoenix last year, the 6th at Martinsville, 7th at Gateway. But we know he's got that ability to win. Did it at Phoenix a couple years ago as well, where he won the championship. Ben Rhodes can get it done at 20-1. He's good value any week on that, but especially on this track style. So Corey Heim, 3-1 over on Superbook. Carson Hocevar, 10-1 over on Caesars. Ben Rhodes, 20-1 over on Caesars. Those are the bets this week, Rod.
And we didn't really even touch on the fact that this is only the third year they've been back on Richmond as a truck series. They did take an extended period of time off. Last time I was on the track was 2005. So not a whole lot of track history for a lot of these guys too, because that's a big gap in between having races on the track. So definitely got to take that into consideration too. All right. My pick for this is an odds boost on Caesars. For those of you who took the odds boost on the USA Women's, it might be a trap. Women's soccer last night, that was probably a trap for you. But this one I don't think is so much of a trap. It's Grant Enfinger. He's at plus 800 for his odds boost. He's plus 650 on Caesars and a couple of other books like DraftKings. He's 700 on Superbook, I think, and Barstool. But I like Grant Enfinger at plus 800. He is a past winner on this track. Like we talked about, the first year they came back, he started 5th and won this race. Since then, 8th place finish and a 4th place finish. Cody just made the exact point. If a guy's going to finish inside the top 5, chances are he could be somewhere in the lead or somewhere bucking for the lead. In 2021, he led 71 laps. He didn't end up winning the race, but he led 71 laps of that race, meaning that he is fantastic around this track. And if you really even look back at what he ran the 98 truck rather in both of those, the Mike Curb machines, and won this race and finished 8th in the 98. So in this 23 and the Gallagher truck, he's been solid all season long. Obviously he's won 2 races already, 8 top 10s, 6 top 5s. Look back at what he did. He finished 5th at Bristol Dirt. Not a good day at Martinsville. He finished 14th. North Wilkesboro salvaged the top 10, but still ringing in the top 10. He won at Gateway. Last week, he just finished 5th at Pocono. So he's running well. He's obviously locked in the playoffs. He could take some chances. He doesn't have to necessarily need as many stage points as most people. So if he wants to stay out, if he wants to try to gamble on some sort of strategy to try to win the race and make sure that, because a win for him is more important, I think, than anything, because it's going to even boost him farther up into the playoff standings. So I think they're going to go for this win. I think that 23 truck's going to be solid. And I like the fact that it's boosted up to about plus 800. The 8-1 price really has me for somebody who's won. The only person that has won this on this track that is still in the race, because nobody else that has won this on this track in the trucks is on this track.
Yeah, that's a pretty good case. Again, Enfinger's just a guy that, much like Rhodes, you can't count out ever. Like, he'll pop up, he'll have fast trucks, he can get it done. So, yeah, I like it.
Beautiful stuff. All right. And I say that because Chandler Smith won last year, and the year before that, it was John Hunter Nemechek. Neither one of them have been on. So, all right. Get out your pen and paper. It's time to go over the bets for the Worldwide Express. $250 for the Truck Series. Cody, started you out. We're digging deep today, baby. Bailey Curry over Matt Mills, minus 115 over on Caesars. I'm giving you the top finishing Toyota to finish better than the top finishing Chevy at minus 105. Cody is giving you Carson Hocevar as a top 5 truck at plus 140. I say Christian Eckes will finish better than Nick Sanchez at minus 115. And then Cody said Ben Rhodes will be a top 5 truck at plus 250. I agree and say that he will finish better than Taylor Gray at plus 110. Cody said that Matty D was going to be a top 5 truck at plus 550. I said the winning truck number would come from underneath 23.5 at minus 130. And then Cody tossed out Heim at 3-1, Hocevar at 10-1, and Rhodes at 20-1 to win this race. And I said Take the 8-1 odds boost on Caesars for Grant Enfinger and have some fun cashing these tickets. Cody, we broke down the final race of the week for us. I just can't wait. SRX happening tonight.
Yeah.
Probably by the time you've listened to this, make sure you set your DVRs if you are listening to it early. But yeah, can't wait for that either.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pumped for that. We've had some great racing the last couple of weeks. And again, 5 races. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at Husker_Zeeb. I just tweeted out not very long ago my 5 race parlay. Been putting those out every week for however many races we have. 6 last week. We had 7 races, but the second Iowa odds were not available for IndyCar. So it was a 6 race parlay. It didn't hit, but you're not going to hit all the parlays. One of them will hit. You don't want to miss it when it does. A lot of fun. So definitely go check that out. And you can find all my work over there. Got a bunch of NFL stuff out right now. Offensive Player of the Year article is probably out by the time you listen to this or coming out shortly. Defensive Player of the Year article coming out later this week. Early next week, I guess, rather. But what same difference? It all runs together. Check out the F1 Gambling Podcast, too. Talked about the Grand Prix, the Belgian Grand Prix for this week. Recapped IndyCar, broke down SRX over there. So make sure you're subscribed to that channel. Click the like, follow, share, rate, review. All the fun stuff the kids say.
Everything the kids say. Love it. Can't wait. I mean, Cody's just a wealth of racing knowledge. If you're not following him already, do so. I'm on X at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on. Eventually that'll get old and I'll stop saying it. But
it's great. I laugh every time. And I still call it Twitter. And then you deliver it just beautifully every single time. I love it.
And look, I'm just saying right now, my only goal is to make you laugh, Cody. And if I make you laugh, then I know I make at least 3 other people out there laugh, and we're all good. So,
that's right.
Anyways, I'm on X at RJ Villagomez. Find a link in the bio to everything I got going on, whether it's here, Back Road. I'm on with Elliot this week, breaking down Richmond as well. And then, of course, my show on for frequency's sake, Fast Money. I put together a few more bets for you on that as well. And then if you want to follow along with the soccer, good night last night. I hit 2 or 3 other bets. So we're hoping for another good one tonight. Check that out on Odds Shopper on their YouTube. So we'll be back with DFS later on in the week. Well, I guess that's tomorrow. That only leaves one day. But anyways, we'll see you then. Till then, let's go racing and let it ride.